Well, San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone, and last Friday, our buddies at Hasbro held their own panel at the convention. They were there to show off the 2026 slate for the Age of the Primes and Studio Series lines, and my god, do we have to talk about it. I wasn't expecting to make a video, but after seeing what 2026 has in store for us, Transformer dorks, all I can say is,
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
But before I can dive into what the future holds for us Transformer collectors, be sure to hit that follow button, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you like all things Transformers, then this is the place for you. Now back to our regular schedule. Alright, so the way I'll do this is I'll start from my least hyped figures to my most hyped figures. Starting off as my least hyped figure is Age of the Primes, Deluxe Class, Beast Wars, Quick Strike. I really don't have much to say about this figure other than it looks good. The figure is very unique, I guess, with his arm being his tail and other arm being the alt mode legs. But moving on to the next figure is Age of the Primes Beast Wars Leader Class Razor Claw, which is basically a repaint of Tiger Claw. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Beast Wars. I didn't grow up with Beast Wars and I don't feel a connection to the characters and the show, so maybe that's why I have these figures on the bottom of my list. But the figure looks decent. It's just a repaint and I've never been one for repaints. But moving on to the next figure, we got Age of the Primes Leader Class Big Convoy. I never really cared about this figure, honestly, but I will say the figure looks good, very accurate to how it looks on screen. I'm typically not a fan of Beast figures, but Big Convoy does look interesting. Now, moving on to the next figure, we have Age of the Primes Voyager Class Retgar from the animated universe in Deluxe Class Junkion Jalopy. I honestly don't care about the Junkions. They never really caught my interest. I'm not really impressed with Retgar either. Junkion Jalopy is just a retool of Legacy Animated Lockdown, but still looks cool, I guess. Overall, these two are decent, but definitely not going to drop money on these guys. Next figure we got is G1 Deluxe Class Sheer Shot. The figure looks great and very accurate to his G1 appearance. The figure looks clean with a little bit of kibble on the back. One thing to point out is that he comes with a Minicon Spoil Sport that transforms into a primary weapon of his, which I think is pretty cool. Definitely going to scoop up this figure once he's available for pre-order. Alright, now we're on to the juicy stuff here. This is the stuff that I really wanted to talk about. These next figures are a day one purchase for me. First figure we have is Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Wind Charger. I'm honestly surprised that we're getting a Wind Charger figure. He was only in the movie for about 1 second and he was unfortunately already dead, but Hasbro's definitely going to be milking it on this one, but son of a bitch, I'm gonna buy him. The figure looks decent, especially his vehicle alt mode. The only complaints I have for the figure are the legs. The dude doesn't have any feet, and his legs just look funky in general. Plus, I'm not a fan of the empty space in the inner part of his legs. The figure looks like it will come with effects that you can attach to the front and the back of the figure to represent his magnetism ability. Overall, the figure looks decent. You know, I'm impressed with how smooth the vehicle mode looks, so we'll have to see once we get more photos of the figure how it's going to turn out. Next figure we have on our hands is Studio Series 86 Voyager Class Thundercracker. Now, I'm impressed with what I see so far. It looks like they're using a new updated mode for Thundercracker, which allows the figure to look sleek. There is a back kibble, but it's not really too bad. It doesn't look too terrible. The vehicle mode also looks sleek as hell, and so far I'm impressed with what I've seen. Definitely looking forward to more of this figure in the future. Now, next figure we got is a retool. We have Studio Series Transformers The Last Night Leader Class Nemesis Prime. I knew this figure would be coming, especially after we got Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. As far as accessories, he does come with his shield and Sword of Judgment, but in this photo right here, you can see he comes with his new arm blade and blaster we saw him using in his fight against Bumblebee. Another thing to point out is this figure does come with the new head mold. Where Age of Extinction Prime had his face shield on, this one does not, so another cool thing Hasbro included. Overall, we know what to expect with this figure, and Hasbro is smart on their part to release a retool with new accessories, and of course they got me again, so I will be buying this figure as well. Now the next figure we got is Studio Series Transformers 1 Voyager Class Alpha Trion. I absolutely loved his design in Transformers 1, and it's about damn time we get a Studio Series figure for this guy. The figure looks phenomenal. From what I'm seeing, there looks to be not much kibble, which can be a problem with Beast alt modes. There's a lot of detail on the figure, specifically the green moss like material that's on the character character design. As you can see, his primary weapon is his tail, which looks like it is meant to be like an electric whip, which is badass. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this figure. But moving on to the next figure, we have Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class Arachnid. If you remember, Hasbro did a live show off the rest of the 2025 slate in the Studio Series and Age of the Prime lines. In that live, Hasbro gave us our first look at a prototype of Arachnid. Well, now we get our first official look at the figure with all of her color, and I just have to say that this figure looks fantastic. It's hard to see if she has any back kibble, but honestly, I wouldn't mind since she has a really complicated design to translate to a toy. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. Vehicle mode looks a little chunky, but totally understand why. Overall, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing, and I'm really impressed with these new wave of Studio Series figures for TF1. Now, on to the next figure. We have our first Prime of 2026 in the form of Quintus Prime. This was a Prime that I was very curious to see how they would execute in a figure form, and looking at these photos, I think they did the best they could. You know, I do think they could have done better, but I know that they have a budget to work with on these figures, so there appears to be some kibble on the back of his arms as well as his head. I also dig the rubber-like tentacles as well as his translucent legs that help it make it look like he's actually floating. Overall, I think the figure still came out okay, and I'm still very much looking forward to getting the figure. Moving on to the next figure we got is Age of the Primes Combaticon Deluxe Class Blast Off. I cannot begin to tell you guys how excited and hyped I am for the Combaticons. We got our first Combaticon in the form of Vortex, a great figure that has a few imperfections, but overall a good start on the journey to building Bruticus. And it seems like the hype train is continuing with our first picks of the newest Combaticon, Blast Off. This figure looks great. From what I can see, there appears to be a lot of flexibility on this figure. His color scheme is a chef's kiss. His rocket alt mode looks great as well. Very clean and slick. For sure a day one purchase. And overall, I'm just very excited to get my hands on this figure, man. I am digging these Combaticons. I gotta tip my hat off to Hasbro for what they're doing with these figures, and very hyped to see more of this figure. Next figure we got is a Bayverse figure. In this case, we have a figure that's been long overdue, and I'm talking about Studio Series Transformers The Last Night Deluxe Class Barricade. Now, from what I'm seeing, this is definitely a step up from the original mainline figure. There is so much detail on this figure, which is awesome. And from these angles, there doesn't look to be that much back kibble, but it also appears he'll be sporting his iconic spitting gauntlet arm gun, along with what appears to be a handgun-like weapon. Vehicle mode looks phenomenal, clean and slick, and just badass. I'm really impressed so far from what I'm seeing for this figure, and I cannot wait to add him to my collection. One thing that I will point out that I'm not really too big of a fan of is his legs. They just look a little awkward to me, just the functionality of it, the engineering of his legs. Next figure we have is what I think is fair to say the most unique looking figure that was revealed. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Age of the Primes Voyager Class Amalgamus Prime, which as you can see is inspired by his appearance in Transformers 1, the prime of shapeshifting and creating the original T-Cog. What I really like about the Age of the Primes line is how diverse and unique each prime is, and that is still the exception when it comes to Amalgamus Prime. I'm really digging this design, and overall this figure looks fun to play with. According to the designer of this figure, you can transform him into 4 to 5 different alt modes. I really like the spider tank, and honestly, I am just really impressed with this figure. Can't tell you how hyped I am to snatch this figure up once he's available. But next figure we have is actually not a figure, but is a render of a upcoming figure, and that would be Age of the Primes Commander Class Onslaught. I would say that he is my second favorite Combaticon, and from what I can tell from the render, this figure has a lot of potential. I'm curious to see what other accessories he's going to be coming with since he is a commander. So overall, very hyped and curious to see more of this figure will look like in the future. Now, second to last figure we have is the muscle of the Combaticons, and my personal favorite out of the group, we have Age of the Primes Voyager Class Brawl. And let me tell you, this figure is a beast. I cannot wait to see more of this figure in the future. It looks phenomenal. It looks like it may have some back kibble, but we won't know until we get more photos. The tank mode is also a thing of beauty. This is a tank you would want on the front lines against your enemies. This tank is a force to be reckoned with, and this is honestly the figure I'm most hyped for. All right, besides the next figure, and speaking of the next figure, the last figure we have is a monster, and I mean that literally. We have a reissue, but this reissue can be considered a retool. This figure is Titan Class Studio Series Age of Extinction Grimlock. Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. This figure is a Titan class and scale accurate. As you can see in this photo here with Optimus Prime on the back of Grimlock, I think this is a smart move on the part of Hasbro, as they have also announced that they will be completing the rest of the Dinobot lineup and they will also be Titan class. There have been a few adjustments made to this figure, more with the transformation function. This will be a day one purchase for me, and I'm hyped to see the rest of the Dinobots get introduced. And RIP to my wallet. I don't know how I'm going to financially recover from this, but that's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to get on here real quick and just kind of go through my quick thoughts on every figure that was shown off at the San Diego Comic-Con convention. But let me know down below which figure you guys are most excited for. And if you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Turn your notification bell on immediately right now. Do it. And as always, till all are one.